Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie. I write underneath the pen name S.M. Whitson, and if you're interested in what type of books I have for you to read, all the links are in the description box down below. So today is December 23rd, and every year, the last few years, I've always wanted to film a really long sit-down video about December 23rd. What's so special about December 23rd? December 23rd, 2013 is the date that my first and original neurologist gave me the blessed diagnosis of having multiple sclerosis. Did you know I have MS? My son turned a year old December 2nd, got diagnosed December 23rd, and I've been on some type of medication ever since. My goal this year is to improve my eating habits, improve my activity, improve my supplements, and see if maybe I can just start to feel better just changing that. Not to say that I won't ever take medication again, but I just want to see how I can make myself feel better after all that. I might cut that part out about the changing nutrition stuff. We'll see. But, okay, so when I look back on just my life and stuff before I got diagnosed, before symptoms flared up all of a sudden, there's things that most people would contribute to me having kids back to back to back, basically. Like every year and a half to 2 years I had to get run down and tired and like balance is off, like just normal stuff, like whatever. Well, this one October, I went to Pacific City on the Oregon coast to my sister's. I ended up staying there for like 2 weeks. When I got back that night, the kids all slept for 9 hours straight. Mind you, Jackson was maybe 10 months old, and so then Ileana was like 3 and Hannah was like 5. And I had taken them to Pacific City on my own, left my douchebag of a husband back home. He's a douchebag, he is a douchebag, and I'm totally okay saying that. And now we're divorced and it's fine. So the kids all slept for 9 hours, and then I woke up. Kids were still sleeping, that's weird. And part of my right foot felt like tingly, kind of like when your foot falls asleep and then it starts to wake up and then it feels like tingly. That's weird. Like it's not asleep. I can feel it, kind of. It feels kind of like, kind of sleep, kind of waking up. You know what? I'm gonna go to downtown Bend and jog to downtown Bend like I used to do. I used to do jogging like a couple times a week. Like I haven't done that in a while. I'll do it again. I just need to get it woken up. Well, I made it all of like a half a block before I was in excruciating pain. So I came home. And then I came home, like this is weird. So I called the doctor and they want me to have an appointment, like okay. No, so I called the doctor the next day because the pain and then the numbness is still there. So they said, okay, I can get you in the end of the week. End of next week. I said, okay, fine, I'll wait, whatever. It's doctors. They don't have time to fit you in unless it's horribly important. So then the day after that, it had traveled up, the pain and numbness, total numbness, had traveled up my right leg from my foot and ankle area to past my knee. Like, okay. So I call back, I'm like, this is weird. Like, well, that's really weird. It was like a compressed nerve or something. It's usually going down, not up. If it gets worse, let us know. We'll get you in as soon as we can. Literally, the day after that, my entire right side of my body was numb. My whole arm was numb. My right side of my torso was numb all the way. So that way, it was so numb that if I got up off of my daughter's twin bed and I put on my weight on my right leg, it fell to the ground. It was like it wasn't even there. So I called the doctor, they get me in, and then I start the tests. There's always tests. So I have state insurance. So state insurance says you have to have this test and get the results before you can do the next test and the next test, next test. So at that point I was working, I wasn't working yet, but I was in the process of getting a job. So I had tests like there was a an eye vision test. So it had like black and white checkerboards flickering back and forth, and I had to follow a red dot. And they said it was inconclusive because I had really lazy eye, because I told them, do not schedule this appointment first thing in the morning because I'm working graveyard shift at a hotel. So what do? They schedule me freaking at 8 o'clock in the morning. Never. Then they do a nerve conduction study to see how the nerve pain is traveling from like my feet and hands up my back and into my brain. Well, that was also inconclusive because I have severe scar tissue around my spine from a couple different back surgeries. So I'm like, okay. Then they did a blood test, and then the final one they did. And then they did MRIs. So then they did an MRI, and then they did spinal tap. So the spinal tap had myelin in the fluid, which myelin covers your nerve cells, and it's showing that if it's in your spinal fluid, that it's breaking down. That plus the plaque that was evident in my brain and parts of my neck, cervical cord, and my spine showed that I had MS. My neurologist, who was not a genius, said that, well, it can't be MS. You're so young. I think you got it because you went to the beach and went to a tropical area and got Epstein-Barr virus. I'm like, the Oregon coast in October is not tropical by any means. It's never tropical, but okay. So he had said that partway through, and then he finally's like, okay, because you have MS. I'm like, okay, so what's next? And he's like, well, I think let's just wait and see if you get better. I said, I've been completely numb on the right side of my body. I have 3 kids under the ages of 6 years old at home. No one is taking care of them. The baby is living in a playpen for the last 6 weeks. I need help. I need help now. So then he's like, okay, well, if you started on medication, you have to keep on it your entire life, because then you'll get worse if you come off of it. Not entirely the case, but I see his point now. So then I started it like in into January, and then I started my job. I started at the end of January, and then I switched to fully graveyard in February. And then at the end of February, I was on my own, meaning I had kicked out my ex-husband, filed a restraining order, and started the divorce. Now, the reason I did not keep neurologists was because I thought I was going to be moving to Boise at one point in time. And so I wanted to get all my medical records, so I had them with me. So I had it with me. But I ended up not moving, but I ended up switching a neurologist because he was like, in one of the after visit summaries, he said, Stephanie is an otherwise healthy 21-year-old. At that point, I was 31, okay? And then that was with his MRI, reading the results of the MRI. And then another time, I'd gone in, and it was like a checkup to see how it's going. He's like, any other complaints? Like, no, a little bit in my left hand, but it's okay today. And so he said in there, Stephanie claims that there's nothing wrong. I feel like her symptoms are flaring up due to stress of her going through divorce and not having her kids anymore. And she hasn't had her kids in a year. At that point, I'd never been without my kids, not for a single day. So at that point, I was like, whatever, I'm done. I'm not seeing anymore. So I asked around. I went to see Dr. Lauren Sherman at Bend Neurological Associates in Bend, Oregon. And she actually came from OHSU in Portland to Bend because there's a lack of neurologists specializing in MS. She's my age, I think a year or 2 younger than me. And so I wanted something that would stay around a while before retiring. I ended up leaving, so that was whatever. But funny enough story is that she also was the same neurologist for my mother-in-law, who also had MS, which I didn't know it. I mean, obviously I didn't know it at the time. But I found out my future mother-in-law had MS on mine and my husband's first blind date. So that was an interesting story there. So that is the story of how I got MS, how I got tested for it. If you'd like to know any more questions about the disease or how I manage it, things like that, go ahead and leave the question down in the comments, and I can make another video about that. So questions about my MS topic that I'm talking about in this video, I will totally respond with. And also anything to do with my life now, RV now, homeschool now, writing now. If you like this sort of video where I give you a little bit of background information about my chronic illness, let me know. If you want to hear more about it, let me know. If you have any other video topics you might like me to touch in the coming new year, also let me know. In the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye! I have a series of contemporary coming of age inspired by true events based in the Pacific Northwest, mainly Oregon and the US. And it follows a 9-year-old girl as she finds things out about her family as she grows up, how it changes her, how it changes her life, and how she deals with the effects of the dark secrets in her family. Then I also, and that one's completed, I may come back to it later, but I feel like it's a completed story. And then I also have a series, an ongoing series of small town romance set in a small Oregon coastal town of Rockaway Beach. And yes, that's a real town name, but that's basically where the similarity ends. Because I needed to have a name or a layout of a town in my head. I have a really hard time making one up as I go because I'm directionally challenged. All that to say, I have 4 books: Love and Lattes, Love and Kisses, Love and Chance, Love and Family, and soon a 5th one is coming out in February 2023. The title and cover reveal is coming to you soon.